Bienvenidos, Ushamdid, and welcome Anne Arundel Community College learners from the Spring 2023 semester taking the CTS-233 Section 400 Network Programmability course. This is the Cisco Networking Academy's DEVASC 200-901 Certification Exam Preparation course, and we're going to take another look at Lab 3.3.11, where we're working with software version control using Get. We're going to be focusing on Part 6 of our lab. However, I left you with a question at the end of the lab. And the question was, we created that new file in the primary branch. However, when I come into Susan's branch, it's not here. So how would Susan work on that? Well, this question was based off what you had just seen in the previous lab. Remember, Bob, Susan, and Timmy, those were all branches that were created and were able to see the devasc.txt file because it was already there. But now we've added this new file, but remember, these branches aren't pointing to the same copy, if you will, or checkpoint of the main branch. And so what we would need to do is we would need to say git merge main. And so, oh, I'm sorry, I said main. Git merge primary. And there we go. So now in Susan's directory, in Susan's branch, right, and this is her view of the Git repository, she now sees that new Python project file that she needs to work on. So she could go into that new Python project file, and we're working on Susan's part, and maybe her thing was, we need a print statement in here from you, Susan, that says, hello, this is Susan. And so now we have Susan's code. She's all done with her code, so git status. All right, hey, something's been modified in Susan's branch. How about a git add, new Python project? How about a git commit? We'll do the -m. Susan is all done, right? And there we go. So in Susan's branch, she's finished her work. She did her testing. She checked to see, hey, does this work? Let's see, Python 3. New Python project. Hello, this is Susan. So it works, right? So she's done. So what we could do is we can go back into, let's go git checkout and move, I'm sorry, git checkout, and we'll check back into the primary branch. Now remember, in the primary branch, we have this file, but what happens if I cat this file out? Yeah, we don't see Susan's code in here, but Susan came to her boss and said, hey, I've done all my code. I ran it through some testing. Everything works great. We can merge this into the main primary branch. And so her boss says, hey, Susan, that's fantastic. So let's go ahead and say git merge Susan. And let's take a look at what we have in the new Python project now. Susan's code is in here. So now I've incorporated Susan's code so I can wait for Timmy and Bob to get their stuff done. So if Bob came in and he logged into the server, git checkout Bob. So he's in his branch, but he doesn't see that file, right? So Bob is going to go ahead and say git merge with the primary branch. Now remember, Bob is merging with what the primary branch currently sees, and we know that what that branch sees is Susan's code is done. So maybe Bob sees this and says, hey, I need to get after it. I need to get my code added in. So he pulls up new Python proj.py because he sees it now. Bob comes down here and he says, all right, let me get my code entered in. This is Bob. And so Bob says that he is all done with his work. So he saves the changes. And again, you could do that in VS Code, what I was just doing there on your virtual machine, but I'm just using VI. It's a little bit quicker for me to work around in. So now Bob is done. So what about a git status here? Okay, hey, in the branch Bob, this file has been changed. So let's say git add new Python proj. And then I can say git commit with the -m, and we'll put in here, Bob is done. And so we commit that, right? So now git status shows this branch is clean. So again, you tell your boss, hey, I'm all done. The boss is logged in, or the main programmer, the chief programming engineer says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and let's check out the primary branch, right? So what does he see in this new Python file? Well, he only sees Susan's changes because we need to pull in the changes made by Bob. So now when I cat that file here, and oops, sorry, and I put a single backtick there at the end there. So now when he says, hey, what is the new file consist of? All right, great. And did Bob do his testing? So your chief engineer is going to take a look at this and say, all right, let's make sure that this actually does what they say it's going to do. And there we go. And the process for Timmy would be the exact same thing, right? And so this is how you can leverage Git software version control. And now let's take a look at part 6 of the lab, where we're going to talk about handling merge conflicts. All right, so they want us to create a new branch called test. So we're going to do that. And actually, what branch am I in? And this is important. I'll show you why that's important, to make sure that they're anticipating that I'm doing this from the primary branch there with the asterisk next to it. All right, so we now have this test branch, right? So we're going to check out, or you can think of it as like we're going to switch into that branch. So git checkout test. If I say git branch, we can confirm that, hey, we actually made the move there. And let's go ahead and see, what do we see? Well, remember, the main branch, right, the primary branch had been updated. So we know that we see these, that this is why we see these two files here, right? Because there was a commit done there back on the, or a merge, I should say, was done back on that main branch. And so now we see this here. Okay, so this is what they want us to do. They want us to cat the DEVASC file. And I'm really glad that I left and I went with the word Cisco here, because this is going to come into play now. So now what they want us to do, if I do a git status here, right, we're on branch test. There's nothing to commit, but we're going to be making some changes. Now we're going to use, and this is sort of really old school Linux here, or Unix, before Linux was even a thing. And we're going to use sed, and sed stands for Streamlined Editor. And the -i is we're going to substitute, that's what that little S means right there. We're going to substitute for every occurrence of Cisco, we're going to put in netacad. And I'm going to put a forward slash in there. And then we're going to indicate the file that we want that change to be made to. So the Streamline Editor is going to change every occurrence of Cisco to netacad inside that file. Now remember, we are in the test branch. So I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to cat out devasc.txt. And you can see what happens, right? Every occurrence of Cisco, well, for the first line here anyway, was where we had it. You can see it got changed to netacad. So in the test branch, devasc.txt is now different from what you see in the main branch. So let's go ahead and do a git status here. You can see that the file changed. Now, I'm going to show you a shortcut, and the lab shows it to you as well. So we're going to use the -a option here. And that only affects files that have been modified. And what it's doing is it's doing the add for us, right? So instead of me saying git add dot, right? Or git add devasc.txt. We don't have to say git add. I'm shortcutting it here. I'm going to say git commit -a is going to automatically add that file. The m is going to be the same comment thing that we always use, right? So changed the word Cisco to netacad. So we were working in the test branch and we make this change, right? So if I cat devasc.txt, you can see that it says netacad in there. And in the test branch, we went ahead and we made that change. So now we're going to say git checkout. We're going to go back to the primary branch, right? So let's make sure we're there. We say git branch. Yep, we're in that primary branch. Let's cat devasc.txt out. The change is not there, right? The change is not there. Now, here's the key. And again, one of the reasons I showed you the examples I did when we merged the changes that Susan had made, and we merged into the main branch, the primary branch here, the changes that Bob had made. And then those changes were reflected in the file. Well, you'll notice that there's no merge command here in the lab, right? So this might happen to you where, okay, we went into the test branch, or someone was working in the test branch, a bunch of changes got made. I come here and I look at this and I say, okay, great. Well, it says Cisco there. Well, I want to change that so that it says DevNet. So let's run the sed command again, and we'll say S, and every instance of Cisco here, we're going to change to DevNet, knowing that, again, there's only one occurrence of that in the file, and it's going to be in this devasc.txt file. Now, are we going to see an error here? Well, we didn't do the merge, but no, we're not going to see an error. We're in the primary branch, and the sed command is going to do what the sed command does, which is it's going to change the text in there, and it no longer says Cisco DevASC. It now says DevNet DevASC. But remember, we're in the main primary branch. We are not in the test branch where we made the change earlier to make it say Netacad. So now we've made the change, and now we decide we're going to go ahead and we're going to make the commit. So let's say git commit -a, right? Because we're not going to add it in first. And then we're going to put a comment in here. We're going to say change the word, what was it, Cisco to DevNet. We'll put some exclamation marks in there. All right, so now we're getting ready to do the commit here. Are we going to see an error? Well, no, we don't see an error, right? So if I was to cat out, and again, it's funny, it kind of seems like it's lagging the VM a little bit because it's putting in commands that I'm running into sort of the comments, but that's okay. We'll roll with it. So let's cat out the contents of devasc. So here it says devnet asc. If I was to say git checkout test and go back into the test branch and cat out dev asc.txt, you can see it says netacad. So let's get back into the master the primary branch. So we'll say git checkout, and we'll get back into that primary branch. We know we're there when we say git branch, right? In fact, if I was to say git branch -v, get a little verbose output here, you can see it shows you the last commits that were done. It shows you that little hash, or the beginning of the, I think it's 40 character SHA-1 hash that you see here. So we're here in the master branch, and this is where the last thing that we did, the primary branch, and we changed Cisco to DevNet. But again, it kind of lagged a little bit on us, and it put the word cat in there along with the name of the file. So, but that's a way to get a little bit more verbose information on, okay, let's take a look and see what the last change may have been, or the last commit may have been to those branches. So now we've got two files, right, that are significantly different. And now let's go ahead and let's merge these changes in. So again, I'm in the primary branch. I say git merge, wait for it to fill out there, and we say git merge test, and I hit enter. We'll take a look here. Conflict, merge conflict in devasc.txt, automatic merge failed, fix conflicts, then commit the result. So if we were to take a look at the log, if we were to scoot back up here, you can see that the head is pointing to the master right now when we when we made this commit here. And you can see change the word Cisco to DevNet, right? So we're good there. And again, it's just showing you some additional information. I'm making sure we're covering all this, where it showed you the comment, change the word, so we can see what was done. So how would we fix this? Well, what we could do is, and the way they're showing you to fix this here is, we're still in the main primary branch here. Let's spell branch right. We're still in the main primary branch here, and they basically have us just pull the file up, devasc.txt. Oops, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm here. So they have us pull the file up, And what is it they want us to do here? They want us to come down and pop out, right? So you can see that that is the change, and press DD on the following lines that are highlighted. DD deletes line. All right, so they want us to delete the headline. They want us to come down and delete that, delete this, delete that, and I think that is everything we would need to delete. So this will be interesting here to see if this works. So we go ahead and you could do :WQ. I just do Shift-ZZ from command mode. So now they want us to cat out the devasc.txt file. It should say devnet devasc with the line. So what we just did in the previous step was we actually removed the lines that were in conflict with what we were trying to commit. So let's go ahead and say git. And it's interesting here, they have us do the git add devasc.txt. And let's make sure. Yeah, I'm just taking a look here real quick to make sure that I'm covering all the steps that I show you. So then we'll say git add devasc.txt. So if I say git status, you can see all conflicts have been fixed, but you're still merging, right? So again, I've added it to the staging area. Git has told me, yep, you addressed all the conflicts, you removed the lines that were an issue. So now we need to commit it. So we'll say git commit -a -m and manually merged from test branch. All right. So that's the comment that they wanted in there. We hit enter, and you can see that it went ahead and it worked. So what if I cat the devasc.txt out now? You can see that it says devnet in there because we did that manual merge. What about the git log? Well, let's go back up here to the top, and you can see manually merged from the test branch, but we get this new commit number, right? So it says use git log to verify the commit. And so we can see here, merge, right? And that shows you the beginning of the hashes of the two files that were merged and that we got rid of the conflict that existed. And so if we were to take a look at that again, right? Remember, if I was to cat out the new script that we had, you can see here that everything merged great, worked fantastic, right? And we didn't see that there was a conflict, and that's because we didn't change the file on the main primary branch. We just merged those changes in, which is why we didn't see the conflict, right? So a lot going on here and let's say git branch, see where we're at now. We're on the primary branch. All right, great. So as we've seen, right, it could be a little bit tricky. However, we kind of worked our way through a number of things. We worked our way through the main primary version of the file changing, but it also changed in one of the branches. We go to do the merge, and that's where Git is going to say, hey, we got a conflict here. But if we did it properly, where we go into Susan's branch and Susan makes her changes, Bob goes into his branch, he makes his changes, and then we merge those changes back in, we are in great shape. All right, well, that is going to do it for part 6 of Lab 3.3.11. In the next video, we are going to wrap up by taking a look at how we can use Git along with GitHub. Remember, Git is running locally here on this virtual machine. So I can't leverage sort of a centralized repository like a GitLab or a GitHub or, Stash from Atlassian. So we're going to leverage GitHub. So make sure you've got your GitHub account created if you have not created it already for part number 7. All right. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the course, and I hope to see you in the next video.